Hello, happy Friday. Thanks for joining us tonight on Fox 17 Unfiltered. I'm Max Goldwasser. The art at Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, it offers visitors a chance to reflect. And there's one in particular that's pretty new, and it's focused on the Holocaust. Now, May is Jewish American Heritage Month, and our Michael Martin spoke with the co-sponsors of Ways to Say Goodbye, whose father survived the Holocaust.
This is a sculpture from Ariel Schlesinger, Ways to Say Goodbye, and it is representative of the Holocaust, but also it's representative of how other people perished during that time. You can see the glass, which is representative of Kristallnacht, which was in many ways the beginning of the Holocaust.
When we're talking about art and the way that it is entangled with history and our ability to understand and relate to history, there's an important aspect of Kristallnacht.
In November of 1938 is when Kristallnacht actually occurred, and the reason why Linda says it was the beginning of the Holocaust is it was an organized effort by the German government to encourage people to go out and beat up Jews, destroy their property, destroy synagogues, burn synagogues to the ground, and engage in just generalized acts of extreme violence.
Steve and Linda's father, Henry Peska, was a builder as a young man in Poland during the Nazi invasion of World War II. He and his family at the time were imprisoned in concentration camps. Henry, as the story goes, kept himself alive by convincing guards that he was an accomplished painter.
He lost all of his family in the death camps, and we grew up in a family that was scarred. There was a lot of unknowns. Well, we didn't have grandparents, we didn't have cousins on that side, and we also had a lot of unknowns about why such a thing could even happen. Our father really wasn't one to speak of it because he needed for his own mental health to develop what he could be in the present. So when I walk up here, I think of my dad, and I always, and I'm not sure why, think about the number that was tattooed to his arm. It's a number that still haunts me, and it kind of brings me full circle. And that number was 73847.
The siblings helped bring this sculpture here to the Meyer Gardens as part of their efforts to establish the West Michigan Holocaust Memorial.
It happened, but now we are having some answers to all of this, and we are trying to make a difference to people that are being discriminated against, and we want fact to be fact and not rewritten.
The sculpture is on public display, and the West Michigan Holocaust Memorial webpage is collecting first and second-hand accounts from survivors and their families online, available for all to experience.
When he passed away 10 years ago, it was our desire to do something to preserve his legacy and his belief that people should know about this, and to make sure that the words "never again," not just to Jews, although it's important towards Jews, but towards anyone, be something that occurs in the world. And that is really what this is about, because unfortunately, the kinds of hatred and bigotry and xenophobia that led to the Holocaust still exist in the world today. There are attempts all the time to either minimize the Holocaust, say these are normal things that happened in war, or deny that it even existed, that we felt that we had an obligation, not just to our father, but all of those who perished and suffered, to do what we could to make sure this never happens again to the Jews or to any other group of people.
It's not okay to stand by and let things happen that are wrong and just get overwhelmed by all of the arguing that happens sometimes between groups, but to have your own identity and your own understanding of what is right and what is wrong and why those things matter.
This is a continuing testament. As long as it exists, as long as Frederick Meyer Garden exists, it's there, and our commitment to this continues.
On Wednesday, the West Michigan Holocaust Partnership held the award ceremony for the very first ever Henry Pesca Art and Poetry Competition at Frederick Meyer Gardens. They received dozens of student submissions from 6 West Michigan school districts. Each student required to spend at least 6 hours learning about the Holocaust, visiting the West Michigan Holocaust website, and learning about the life of Henry Pesca. And Nicole Katzman, the executive director of the Jewish Federation of Grand Rapids, she says it was reflected in their entries under the theme, Never Forget. She adds one entry really stood out to her, depicting 2 people of different cultures embracing, surrounded by Hebrew text commemorating those who died.
This student had not only thought about the Holocaust, but also thought about how it affects her life and her interactions with people who are different. Breaking down these barriers and teaching the next generation, which we call in Hebrew is lador bador, from generation to generation. And when we teach about about genocide, about the atrocities that took place during the Holocaust, we are making a difference in the world. And in Hebrew, we call that tikkun olam, and we are repairing and teaching empathy, compassion, not just for the Jewish people, but for anyone that's a minority or has differences.
The Anti-Defamation League says the U.S. saw a 36% increase in anti-Semitic incidents between 2021 and 2022. And Katzman hopes to lower those numbers by reaching more students. The submissions are on display right now at Frederick Meyer Gardens for the next month.